Good evening, I'm Henry Goodwin, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. In Husker track and field news, freshman Janessa Reuter won the javelin event at the USA Track and Field U20 Championships in Eugene, Oregon earlier today. Reuter won on her second throw with a distance of 46.31 meters, or 151 feet, 11 inches. Game 6 of the NBA Finals is on tonight, and the Thunder are looking to close out the series on the road in Indianapolis. Tip-off between Thunder and Pacers is at 7:30. Moving to MLB scores, the Pirates currently lead the Tigers in Detroit 4-0 in the top of the fourth. The Cardinals are in Chicago to take on the White Sox, and they currently lead 6-1. And the Phillies and Marlins are in the bottom of the second in Miami. That game is scoreless. Our sports ticker is sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Now get ready for 2 hours of Sports Nightly, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Creighton's got it. Center dump. Kendra, wait, no. Nebraska bumps it again. Harper for the match. Off the ticket out. Call the grandkids. They did it. 15-10. Set 5. Nebraska keeps beating Creighton. 23-0 all time. That was a volleyball match.
Gets the snap, back to throw, steps, throws, intercepted. Picked off Malcolm Hartzog at the Nebraska 43-yard line. It's his fourth career INT.
Horn has the sign. He comes set, and the 3-2 pitch. Popped up, playable, shallow left. Carey makes the call, backing up, and he makes the catch. On his 118th pitch, Ty Horn has 8 shutout here in the championship.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Nick Hanley, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday to you. Welcome in to Sports Nightly, our final show of the week. Tomorrow we will continue our best of series, our Friday best of shows, and it's going to be a good one, Nick. Last year's win over Colorado, so that will be a fun one to revisit here tomorrow night. Well, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Last night, College World Series. Devastating. I felt so bad for that Arkansas outfielder. You hate to see the emotions anyways, but just seeing all the videos and photos just flooding of the tears, it was heartbreaking.
It was so reminiscent of a smaller scale. Obviously, we're talking about the College World Series and not a conference tournament, of what happened on the other side of that outfield just a couple weeks before with Parker Pico of Michigan State dropping the fly ball, and then Nebraska ends up taking advantage of that in the best kind of way for Nebraska. But I remember talking to you the day after, and amidst all that jubilation, it's hard not to think of the student athlete and a guy that can make that play 99 out of 100 times, not even 9 out of 10, but 99 out of 100, because, I mean, that's probably how many times you've had that type of fly ball. Now, this one was a little trickier compared to the Michigan State right fielder Pico, is that ball was sinking, and that's why I remember when I was talking to you about watching the replay of the Michigan State situation with Nebraska, where maybe that ball had some type of sink or run on that line drive that I just couldn't see in real time, and maybe that's what had taken place. And I never saw that in Parker Pico's case. But for this particular one, yeah, this was a little trickier. I don't feel like I'm speaking out of turn when I say that the ball that you're looking at in real time for Arkansas and Davlin, that was a little bit tougher play. And then it's just as you're coming in, your feet kind of give out. It almost looked like his feet felt a little heavy, and they just gave out. And then it takes that crazy ricochet off the body. So then you're just looking at a situation of you're down to that being it. And you can see just behind him in the left field bullpen, the LSU bullpen, they're almost in disbelief. I mean, they're excited and jumping up and down, but you can see hands on their heads of, I just can't believe what happened. And that was so reminiscent of the Nebraska dugout when the Robbie Bolin line drive, or I'm sorry, the Joshua Overbeek that scored Robbie Bolin, the Overbeek line drive when it happened. I know there was some criticism of, why wasn't Overbeek at second base? He should have been at second base. Well, I think he was also in disbelief, too, because you can't believe that happened. You're always taught, you got to hustle till the play's over. But it was, you feel absolutely horrible for that player, especially on that stage. And you're right about the different social media posts and the amount of players coming up to him and making sure that they were hugging and talking to him and letting him know it wasn't his fault and everything. Because, look, that's a baseball-hungry fan base. And as much as I think the majority of the fans are giving him a lot of support and wanting to really embrace him and just that moment for him to let him know that they're there, there's going to be some chuckleheads out there. There are going to be some meatheads out there that are blaming the season on him and that are going to say some very unfriendly things to him. And that's just the unfortunate thing when you're in a spot like that. But, yeah, it's just obviously jubilation for LSU, but just one of the worst losses. And unfortunately for Arkansas at that ballpark, that's probably not the worst one. They had a chance to win a national championship against Vanderbilt on a very routine fly ball in foul territory a few years back, and we all know what happened then. They dropped that. Oregon State, I'm sure not Vanderbilt, but Oregon State, they go on to win that game, and then they win the national championship the following day.
I will say this, though. I mean, I think it's going to be a tall task for Arkansas to beat LSU twice.
Yes. I think if you're Arkansas, you're in that situation where you're fighting to play another day, and you're going to piece together the pitching part of it and all those other things. You're just fighting to play another day where it would have been tough. I don't think there's any question. But then there's the whole psychology of it, of now all of a sudden LSU is one game away from elimination. And if you're Arkansas, if you could get through that second game, then you get a clean slate going into Saturday's championship series where you're back in a situation where you have to be beat twice. And so there is that psychology of LSU feeling pretty comfortable in that game, knowing that, hey, we still always have the second game. But if that team is able to force that winner-take-all or winner-move-on type of scenario, you never know how some of those teams will respond to that. But I'm with you. I think from a talent standpoint, I think to be able to go back-to-back days and beat LSU was going to be very difficult. But for Arkansas, I mean, you did all of that work there in the ninth to take the lead, and you're feeling really good about it, up 5-3, and then all of a sudden it was defensive breakdown after breakdown. And it wasn't just Davlin's fly ball they dropped. There was a double play you had the ground ball where they decided to go after the lead runner with one out. You get the lead runner at third when you probably had a better chance of turning a 6-4-3 double play. That would have ended the game as well. And even the game winner, it would have been a really great play, but that baseball does touch leather. And so just defensive miscues that led to just an unspeakable collapse there for Arkansas.
Okay, so what heartbreaking losses did that trigger you to think about?
And it's funny because there were so many people locally that were bringing up the Michigan State Nebraska game in the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, that wasn't heartbreak for Nebraska, but for Michigan State. But to watch that right there live in person and to see that it was very reminiscent. But it's for me personally, though, even though the game itself didn't end like that, I always go back to 2016 and being a big Cleveland baseball fan. I thought, gosh, this just isn't happening. They're in Game 7. They're up 3-1, okay? And then Chicago comes all the way back, down 3-1. They go into Game 7, and they're just really controlling that game. They hadn't separated themselves so much from Cleveland in that game, but you got Aroldis Chapman out there, and you feel like, okay, it's just at this point, it's essentially over. And one of the very unlikely heroes for Cleveland, Rajai Davis, ends up hitting a game-tying 2-run homer. and you're thinking, oh, my gosh, they have all of the momentum. This happens in the 8th inning. They have all of the momentum. Cleveland's going to win this game. And that what feels like a cursed streak for Chicago Cubs and their fans is going to continue. It's going to go to 109 years at least because they're not going to win this one. And then all of a sudden you have this really weird rain delay, and it kind of softens the atmosphere a little bit. Chicago comes out, and they end up being able to withstand that and winning that. That was a gut punch amongst all gut punches for me personally. But if I could use one that was, for the most part, pretty insignificant, and that was this last year with the Chicago Bears, where they had the game won against Washington, and you've got Stevenson, who is essentially mocking the crowd as he's going back into Hail Mary coverage. And then he's the one who ends up getting a piece of the football in the end zone that is tipped to the Washington Commander receiver, and the Commanders end up winning the game in the most low percentage victories. That was also a big-time gut punch, too, when you basically see something you work on in practice all the time with that Hail Mary defensive coverage, and you still don't get it right. And to sort of twist the knife a little bit more, you've got the player who was involved for Chicago, as he's going back into coverage before the snap, is mocking the Washington fans, essentially tell him it's over, and then he ends up making the bonehead play. That was a gut punch as well.
Well, on the eve of the Thunder maybe, hopefully, winning an NBA title, although I wouldn't be disappointed if they ended up taking it back to OKC and winning it on the home court. But, hey, if you want to get it done tonight, go ahead and get it done.
Don't wish for that, because remember I brought up that 2016 Cleveland baseball. They were up 3-1. So my wife and...
That's what I was about to go to. Go ahead.
Oh, no, so Cleveland wins in Chicago on Game 4, and so they're up 3-1, and we were going to Chicago the next day. Now, we didn't go to the game, but we were just going to go hang out with my wife's family, 2 of her brothers who lived in downtown Chicago, and we were just going to hang out in Wrigleyville and hang out at the bars and just take in the atmosphere. And I thought, this is cool. Cleveland doesn't have to win this one. They can, and that we'll be able to enjoy our time, because I was outnumbered with a lot of Chicago Cubs fans. And, let them have that moment, and my wife's family, my in-laws, let them have that moment together. That'll be cool. And then Cleveland will have 2 cracks at it to win it in Cleveland, and they should be able to do that. And then Cleveland can have the celebration on their home field, and they don't have to watch it, in TVs and celebrate that way. It's just a lot cooler when it's at home. And so Chicago ends up winning that game. It was a close game in Game 5, and I'm thinking, that's fine. It's okay. I remember going back like, yeah, it's okay. But then as soon as Cleveland lost Game 6, I'm thinking, oh, my God, what is happening? So if you can take care of it tonight, take care of it.
Well, I was going to stick with the 3-1 theme. One of the most devastated I was in terms of just the team that I've been a fan of, the Thunder, when they, in 2016, they go up 3-1 over Golden State.
Yep.
And, the percentage of teams that lose after a 3-game, if you take a 3-1 lead, is it's 95% that you go on to win. And it's just happened to be the small percentage was the Thunder in 2016, and they just choked. Kevin Durant choked. It's why he's, I don't know, not as well loved. The way that he left, but also that series leaves a bad taste in the mouths of Thunder fans as well. But that was pretty devastating. And so it was multiple losses, not just the one heartbreaker, but the fact that you have a 3-1 lead and blow it to go to the NBA Finals. The
3-1 leads. And again, I feel like Cleveland has been involved. Back in 2007, they were going to play the Colorado Rockies in the World Series. They were up on the Boston Red Sox 3-1. And that's the only World Series I've ever been to. I went to Colorado versus Boston because a buddy of mine is a huge Rockies fan, and he got us phenomenal tickets for next to nothing. And so our whole plan was, he was a huge Rockies fan, I was a Cleveland Indian fan, and that series was going to happen. So he made arrangements, and Cleveland ends up blowing that one too. So it almost seems like certain teams, until they get over that hump, even a 3-1 lead, even if it's a completely different roster, there's still a little bit of that stigma there of, oh, gosh, okay, we got that lead, but you're playing with it very carefully, as opposed to playing with it going for the throat, essentially. And there's another one I should bring up, too, and I know a lot of Nebraska fans, you weren't here, but I'm sure you remember this, was the season opener for Mike Riley against BYU. And Tanner Mangum and the Hail Mary. That was the opener for the Mike Riley era at Memorial Stadium, where you had the most recent Hail Mary was the Jordan Westerkamp Omaha Northwestern victory. And, of course, that is commemorated on the Greg Sharp radio booth, that call. Then you have in 2015 the BYU Hail Mary that is answered, and BYU ends up winning it. And it was just such a auspicious start to a new era in Nebraska football, too. And that was a gut punch where BYU was a pretty decent team. You're thinking right out of the gate you're getting challenged, but Nebraska had been pretty much keeping BYU at arm's length. They were controlling the game, and you think, okay, not the most cleanly played game, but it's the first game of the season. Nebraska get out there with a win against a reputable opponent, and then that Hail Mary happens, and Nebraska loses. So that was a pretty good gut punch in the last 10 years, too.
So I've got a couple more, but one of them being when I was working for Oklahoma, and it was in the Rose Bowl, and the Sooners were playing Georgia, the Bulldogs, and took a huge lead. It was Lincoln Riley's first year as a head coach. Had a huge lead at half. I mean, I'm making plans of what I'm going to do with my dog because I'm going to go to Atlanta for the national championship game to cover the team. Talking to my mom at halftime, like, hey, we got to figure out what to do with the dogs. And then Georgia ends up, and it was an electric game, but all of a sudden I think Lincoln, and I think he would maybe admit it now, got a little conservative because he came out really aggressive, got a little conservative, was trying not to lose instead of, going for the jugular. And so Georgia ends up getting back into it. There was absolutely no defense being played, but it was the year Baker Mayfield won the Heisman. And, I think that still haunts those players to this day. And just knowing they were that close. But then, even being here and a couple of the heartbreaking losses that I've witnessed and the one-score losses, and I know that my first year here, it was the best 3-win team in America, I think people say, and how many close games that they were right there with some really good teams, and that goes to what Coach Rule has talked about even here last year, but just this figuring out that mindset of how to win and getting over that hump, what you brought up about teams needing to get over that hump before you can go win a title. But I think that's kind of where this team is getting to, just this football program and the players on this team is just knowing how to win, even when in those close circumstances when it could go either way or one play away. But it kind of translates to what we've seen here over the last couple of years and some heartbreaking losses and just this team's mindset. I think we'll see how this season, but I think you started to see that switch a little bit and some of these new players coming in and just that winning mindset needing to shift. And you got to start winning to believe that you can do it.
Well, and kind of where this whole conversation stemmed from, too, is last night's loss for Arkansas. And that mindset of even when you think it's a game just to survive, but it's still in the College World Series and your goal and you're still technically alive to win a national championship is to be able to do what Arkansas was on the brink of doing. And that was win that game, survive, play another one, and see if all of a sudden you now have the momentum against this LSU team, which I think there would be a little bit of that. But, you go back to that mindset, and I don't know if Arkansas is thinking it. I know nobody existed from the team that blew the national championship series when they had a chance to win it, and they drop a fly ball in foul territory, ended up losing the following game after that catch in foul territory would have won them a national championship. I think there's always if there's a commonality with players that were never even near those moments, to that new roster, like that was a different team, different time. That doesn't affect us. But you know what the commonality is? The fans, because they do know that they did live that, and it's in the back of their mind that no matter how safe a lead seems to be, and probably seems to be for the players, the fans are thinking the exact opposite. And I don't know how, Jessica. I have no idea. I'm not a psychologist, but I swear that somehow gets over to the sidelines or gets into the dugouts. And even Matt Rule in his first year was like, look, all of those things, those one-loss games, that happened to a different staff, a different roster. I haven't experienced that, so I can't speak on that. And I don't really know. I don't put too much thought into that. And I'm sure he didn't at first because that wasn't his thing. But then after a while, you realize, what the hell is going on? like this really is a thing. And the only common denominator I can ever think of is the fans are the same. They're the ones that have experienced that, whether it was something that happened 10 years ago or it's happened the last 4 or 5 years, and then you bring brand new staff and the roster almost looks completely different, yet it's still happening. I don't know how that edginess or uneasiness from the fans somehow makes its way over to the sidelines, but I feel like it does somehow. I mean, how could you say it doesn't? Because what would be the reason that you continue to see that in these different examples? I always have to go to the common denominator, and to me, that's the fans. And look, those things are discussed in the newspaper. They're discussed on sports talk radio. Even if it is a new coaching staff in a brand new roster, sometimes we have a tough time forgetting about that, and we continue to verbalize it. And I guess that has a way of being sort of poisonous to those teams that don't know about any of that. And then all of a sudden they experience it, and they think, oh, is this just how it's supposed to be? So it's a major challenge to get over that hump, in my opinion.
Well, now that we've just depressed everybody over the last 20 minutes talking about heartbreaking losses, what a terrible segment, Nick. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Hey, it's the summer.
Well, unless you're an LSU fan, I'm sure a lot of people were reminiscing some of the worst losses that they've ever seen. And you brought up the one score losses, which they're not lost on any of us. That's for sure.
I'm heartbroken every time that happens. I mean, I also thought of we're gonna have a women's basketball conversation here coming up in hour number 2 with Eliza Mopin, and she was on a team at Kansas State that went on to run to the Sweet 16. But I even go back to the women's basketball game in the NCAA tournament and how close they were, and the charge call on Britt late in the game. I mean, that's hard. That was heartbreaking. So I mean, I think when you talk about overall what impacted me the most, I immediately professional sports and the team that I've been a fan of, the Thunder. But I think once you're embedded in here, and then you get to know the student athletes, and then anytime like a loss like that happens, I hate when that happens. I hate when they have to experience that. But most of the time you got to learn from it and get better from it, and that's what they will say. So, but my heart breaks when that happens. And going back to what the conversation even started with, I kind of wanted to cry a little bit seeing the emotions from some of those Arkansas players, and especially the guy that felt like it was on him. You just hate to see that.
And again, tip of the cap to those players, because their season's over with as well. It was heartache. I know they're going into that bottom of the ninth thinking they've got this game won. And even with having some traffic on the base path, they're still thinking, okay, we're going to do enough to win this baseball game. And it didn't happen. And you could point fingers. You could do. I mean, the human emotions and the competitive human emotions can be in so many different directions there. But for that entire team to embrace their teammate after he's essentially bearing the weight of the world and the season on his shoulders and feeling like he let everyone down, the constant reminder of it wasn't your fault. This wasn't your fault. There are other ways that Arkansas could have won that game. For them to think about that in the heat of the moment and make sure they took care of their teammate, for Dave Van Horn and for that baseball team, we talk a lot of culture on this show about different programs' culture. I think that shows you've got a pretty strong culture when your players in that moment are quick to pick up their teammates. So I think that was more the uplifting part of the Arkansas side of that story.
All right, we got to get to a break here on Sports Nightly. More of the show coming up right after this. Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Your next adventure begins at Woodhouse Toyota. Browse our current selection of vehicles and take advantage of current offers going on now. Lease the 2024 Toyota Prius XLE AWD for $299 a month for 36 months and 10,000 miles per year. Shop in-store off Highway 281 in Grand Island or online at woodhousetoyota.com. Woodhouse Toyota. Let's go places. With approved credit. $2,499 due in signing. $299 doc fee due in signing. Security deposit waived. Tax, title, license extra. Offer expires 6/30/2025. See dealer for details.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm broadcasting major Macy Byers with Campus News. Computer science student Luke Ferreter won a global competition for being the first to decode passages from an ancient scroll. Using advanced AI, Ferreter became the first in centuries to reveal words from a Greek scroll damaged in the eruption of Mount Vesuvius nearly 2,000 years ago. The Lincoln native earned a $700,000 cash prize and international recognition for his achievements.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. I promise we're done talking losses, but I wanted Russ, our producer, to be able to join in on the misery with us. He brought up during the commercial break all that talk about losing, and you didn't bring up 28-3 and the Falcons lost in the Super Bowl. So I got to put it out there so he can join in with us.
There is a saying in sports that it's hard to breathe when you're choking. And that's exactly what was happening with the Falcons. They were very much choking. And that was, we were just talking about in the previous segment, there are certain instances where a team is being too careful with the lead, whether it's up 3-1 in a series or up in a game 28-3, where you're not going for the jugular. You're not going for the throat. You start playing it a little bit more with kids' gloves, and you watch the decisions that were made in that game and the way that Atlanta defensively and offensively was playing so conservatively. that was the perfect recipe for New England to get back into that game, as opposed to just staying as aggressive as they were in the first half. That is one of the more memorable collapses, no doubt.
You're welcome, Russ. All right, let's talk some more baseball and Husker baseball. We've talked a lot about this is a time of the year. It seems like there's announcements, commitments every day. But with baseball and the season ending, there's been a lot of developments. We chatted with Ben a little bit about this on Monday night, but with Husker baseball into the portal, but also getting guys out of the portal. And it seems like they've got some really good pieces that they're going to be able to add to the mix out of the portal so far.
Yeah, and some interesting pieces, too, and they've come from different walks. This is a coaching staff that I feel like, when it comes to the junior college ranks, they do a pretty good job of identifying types of players that not only have good numbers, but types of players that are going to work into the system that they want to implement. And I know that Will Bolt wants to see this offense take a major step forward in 2026. He wants to see more slug, as we saw that really elude Nebraska in a decent chunk of the season, or at least in the first half of the season. So you want guys that are giving you a little bit more of the 50-plus RBI numbers, the 8, 10-plus home runs, guys that are slugging, well into the 500s as opposed to just barely getting to 500. So I know that there's that type of emphasis, but also, and this is where sometimes your shortcoming or shortcomings can be, where you can be very reflective on that. And I think the 2 games against Oklahoma that Nebraska had in the regional, where you lose what was a more closely contested game in the first one, but then the second one, obviously, that was far more lopsided, and Oklahoma just went absolutely ballistic on Nebraska. But it wasn't just what Oklahoma was doing offensively. Every arm that they rolled out there were guys that were pretty electric, from their freshmen to their more veteran arms, guys that were throwing 95-plus, but guys that were able to hit spots. They were able to work ahead, stay ahead. They had the out pitches. And I know that's also something that when you've got one of the more well-accomplished and one of the highly regarded pitching coaches in all of college baseball, and Rob Childress, you feel like if you can get a pretty live arm into that clubhouse, that Rob Childress is going to be able to refine that and really make it even that much more special. And so when you look at, a guy that's coming from Augustana playing Division II baseball, and J.D. Hennon, that one to me is very intriguing because he does have a power arm, but you get the feeling that he's a little bit more green, and that there is a lot that Rob Childress can work with there. Trying to establish some of those more electric arms, I think, is going to be huge. But also just identifying the areas in the lineup, whether it's how you want to see certain guys play a certain position, whether it's shortstop, second base, center field, left field, catcher, whatever it is, but what type of role they need to have at the plate, too. I think Nebraska, when they were at their best offensively, they still weren't just smashing the baseball. They were able to get base runners on early in counts, and then they were able to hit behind runners, move them on. I think Will Bolt would like to go back to what you saw a couple years ago, where 1 through 9, you're seeing guys that are batting either at 300 or over, but in their slugging percentage was well into 500, if not in 600. And, Max Butenbach was there for a while this season, too. So I think you have some guys coming back that do, I think, really highlight what Will Bolt wants to see. It's just finding more bodies that can do a little bit more of what they're looking for offensively.
Baseball's so weird because it's like, it's not like, okay, in basketball, we need a guard. Let's go get a guard. Let's go get a shooter, But, like, okay, we need to add some pop in the lineup. We need to add a hitter. Well, you can go look and maybe they had a great season wherever they were before. Maybe they were great in high school, whatever. But how do you know if it's going to translate, and that it's going to be what you need it to be?
And that's the tricky part about it. And that's where you have to rely on your ability to scout. And I think with what Will Bolt has had over the years, where, first of all, he's got guys around him that he can trust. He's got guys like Lance Arvell that he's coached with. Obviously, Rob Childress, coaching for Rob Childress, but being around him as well. And then, Mike Sirianni, still relatively new to this coaching staff collectively, but they all have a lot of common links as well. This is where your ability to go out and be able to scout, be able to look at certain players and compare what they're doing, and whether it's at the junior college ranks or if you're looking at certain guys that are transferring. I mean, you're getting an SEC transfer over to Nebraska on the mound, that is, but still an SEC transfer. And you're looking at those guys' style. How does it match up with the type of style you're going to see in the Big Ten? You're able to look at, okay, well, we see a lot of, let's say you see a lot of righties that are going to throw not quite the 95-plus stuff, but they're low 90s, and they're heavy breaking ball type throwers too. We see a lot of that in the Big Ten. So how do these guys fare against those types of pitchers? I mean, and that's just a small and one of maybe 100 different things that they're factoring in when they're going through all of that data that you have, that all these coaching staffs have. And you have to put that on paper as well. You have to look at that. But then I think a lot of it is, and this is the one thing going back to culture, this is the one thing where I think Will Bolt understands you have to have that fine line of guys that are really good and talented, but guys that want to continue to work and get even better. You know, there's going to be certain players at various stops that are going to go to a program and they're going to look at it and think, I'm doing you a favor. By coming to your program, I'm doing you a favor. And if you have that mindset, your ability or motivation to work even harder, to become better, is probably not going to be as much as that guy's thinking, hey, this is a great opportunity for me. Going to Nebraska is a place where I can continue to develop my game. So in a sense, I'm lucky to be at Nebraska, not the other way around. And so I think Will Bolt wants to find those types of guys too. And so that's where I think it's very interesting to see. You're getting some junior college guys. You're getting some high-level guys from the SEC, but you're also getting some Division II guys because you want to make sure that those numbers, those statistics that you'll always see in every write-up that anytime there's a new addition is something, and it's definitely worth noting. But the thing that you won't see in the paper because you just don't know about it until you hear from the guy, what is their ultimate motivation for being at Nebraska? What do they want to accomplish, and how do they feel about that opportunity at Nebraska? And if it is they feel like they're lucky to be at Nebraska, those are the kind of guys you want a lot of on that baseball roster.
All right, good stuff there. Let's go ahead and work in another break. We got more to come here on Sports Nightly. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. Just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm broadcasting major Macy Byers with Campus News. A surgical robot developed by UNL professor Shane Ferreter has received FDA approval, paving the way for greater access to advanced medical procedures in rural areas. The FDA approval followed a successful test of the robot aboard the International Space Station in February. The test involved months of preparation for UNL faculty and students working in close collaboration with NASA to launch and deliver the robot.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99.
Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Woodhouse Nissan makes shopping for your next vehicle simple. Right now, lease the 2025 Nissan Pathfinder for just $359 a month. Visit us in Bellevue or Omaha today or online at woodhousenissan.com or woodhouseplacenissan.com. 39 months, 10,000 miles per year. First payment and $29.99 down plus $299 doc fee due at signing. Based on sale price of $38,093. VIN number SC259187. Offer expires 7/7/25. See dealer for details.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the 9th inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly with Nick Hanley. I'm Jessica Coody. So, Nick, I was asked an interesting question yesterday. I told you I went out to the football camp, and I was asked by someone about, just the upcoming season. Is it the slow time now? Are you getting some time to breathe? And then before we turn the page. But I was asked, what sport are you most excited about going into this year? And I kind of had a hard time answering that because there's several that I'm excited about. It's hard not to point to football and expecting another year of improvements with year 3 with Coach Rule, but you always are excited about Husker volleyball and the returnees that they have, and just the being so close the last couple of years, and just the Danny Busman-Kelly's first year, and then with women's basketball and Britt Prince and the return of Natalie Potts, a healthy Natalie Potts, and softball, obviously, and what they have coming back. So I had a hard time just nailing down one program that and wrestling. Yeah,
I was just going to say wrestling.
Where they finish and what they have coming back, and AJ Ferrari coming in, and just, it's hard for me. And I think I said all of that. I just rambled. I'm like, I don't know if I could just pick one, but I guess it's hard, especially right now when we're talking some of this recruiting momentum and just lots of football talk. It's hard not to, I guess, go to football and just how important it is for your football program to be good and to get back to competing for titles.
Let me ask you this. Is there, because you brought up wrestling, is there a program that is coming off the most momentum and having a pretty solid addition in the offseason more so than wrestling? I mean, I can't think of a program that maybe ended the season on such a high note, relatively considering how they were expected to finish in the Big Ten tournament and then what they were expected to do on the national stage of the NCAA wrestling tournament. I don't think there's a program that is finishing, in my opinion, where they overachieved, and then they got even better news in the offseason, adding an A.J. Ferrari. I just don't know if you have a program that has more momentum right now than wrestling, as far as amongst the programs in Nebraska Athletics.
Yeah, and I think just because maybe, like you said, with softball and having the great season they had, and they got some great additions, but I think when you have a player like Jordy Ball, those expectations have been there. There's excitement for her from the start, and so you just add to it. But I think to your point, just maybe, I know Coach Manning sat here, you could tell he was really excited about the group even before the season started, and you knew that he was really excited about the group that would be following up this past year's season. And so I don't know if he was necessarily surprised, but maybe up from the outside looking in. Yeah. And then so you come off a season where you're like, oh, wow, look what they did. They had 2 national title winners. And then, you just get better. It's hard to argue that with wrestling, because I think with the other ones, maybe you know a little bit more and you're just adding to it. But I said this the other night when we were talking about wrestling, and just I feel like since I've been here, this is the most interested and excitement for that program in the off season, and not just about one wrestler, but about an entire team since I've been here. Just the level of interest and intrigue in that specific program.
You're ending it with 2 national champion wrestlers. You finished in front of an extremely well-accomplished wrestling program in Iowa in your own conference tournament, and then you get a key addition, a former national champion that is going to be on your roster to strengthen what is already a pretty decent core coming back. So, I think wrestling, and I think you're right about softball, even though they lost back-to-back games in the Super Regional, their season ending in a Super Regional is a huge, huge step forward, especially knowing you have another year of Jordy Ball. So I would say there is still plenty of momentum with softball, considering what they gained in the offseason and who they have coming back, for sure. Football, I think, is always going to generate that excitement. And I think not just because this is a football state and because this is what we talk about all the time, but I also think this football season in particular, where Nebraska finally got back, was great. We all know the history of year 3 under Matt Rule at his 2 previous stops in college football. All those things are fine to talk about. But I think what makes this football season more exciting is you have a lot of young players that are ready to take that major step forward. And that's not just guys like Dylan Ryle and Ja'Cory Barney coming from their freshman year, but we spent some time talking about those key guys on the defensive line that are going to be jumping into big roles that we already know are talented, but to see how they have taken development, and now that they're going to be the dudes, how they take on that role. So I think there's the intrigue, the interest. Obviously, there's the excitement, but I think because you have so many underclassmen that are going to play some very key roles for this team too, make it, I think, really, really exciting. So I just thought that was interesting, and I figured I'd ask you, but I sat there, I'm like, man, it's should be a simple question and answer, but I started talking, I'm like, well, there's lots to be excited about, which as we've had conversations with Troy Dannon and where this past athletic season was and the Directors' Cup standings and all of that, there's a lot to be excited about. So I think there's a lot of positive momentum with a number of sports, which is always great as you head into a new season. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. We're back to wrap up hour number 1 next.
Who are you?
I'm the truck fairy.
You mean the tooth fairy?
No, truck fairy. I appear when someone dreams about winning one of the 8 new trucks in the Nebraska Lottery's Trucks and Bucks scratch game.
Oh, so you leave Trucks and Bucks tickets under my pillow?
No.
Cash?
Sorry.
What exactly do you do?
Remind people to play today.
Don't think I need a truck fairy for that.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Play Trucks and Bucks from your Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds are 1 in 336,000.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the 9th inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome back. Final segment here of Sports Nightly, hour number 1 of our final show of the week. Tomorrow we will have another best of episode, and it will feature last season's football win over Colorado. So we'll get to hear a call from Greg Sharp tomorrow night, which will be fun to hear.
Was there a better? You've been around several big-time atmospheres in college football. How did the Colorado-Nebraska one in the field? Because I remember watching the Chasing 3, and Greg asks you on the broadcast, can you hear yourself down there? And you kind of paused and said, no. How was that atmosphere compared to anything that you had been through previously?
Well, especially the start, right? The lead up, the atmosphere. I got chills thinking about it. And then the start for the team, how loud it was, the pick six, the first half, there's no doubt it is up there. It kind of, I guess, scaled off maybe a little bit in the second half just because you didn't have as many fireworks. Nebraska clearly had it in hand. The defense played really well. But it wasn't as much happening, I guess. The offense didn't score as much. But that first half was, it was unbelievable. It was so loud. I had to crank my IFB up. I still was having a hard time hearing what was even being said with the captains and the coin toss. So hopefully there's many more of those to come. Which game will be the loudest this year? Would maybe most likely match that at home?
That's a good question. Because I do like the home slate this year. And I think actually not even one at Memorial Stadium, but I do think that the Arrowhead, because you're going to have more Nebraska fans than Cincinnati fans. We know that. I think that place is going to be absolutely electric for that one. I would say, though, just because it draws a lot of the feelings, if you will, the emotions, and given the fact that it'll be an afternoon game, too, I think Michigan is going to be the loudest. I hope that Iowa, even for 11 a.m. game, is still an extremely raucous environment, but I would say the Michigan game should be at its fever pitch, especially given where that's at in the season. Another
one, too, is just the USC game, just for what could be at stake at that point in the season. And if USC is a top-ranked team again, and you never know. I mean, last year when the Huskers were on the verge of getting to the bowl game, and it was pretty loud there, and beating Wisconsin. Yeah. So depending on how the season unfolds, that could be a loud one, too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, good stuff there. We got to get to a break here, but coming up on the other side of this, hour number 2 of Sports Nightly, we're going to have a conversation with another newcomer, Eliza Mopin of Nebraska women's basketball. So keep it here on Sports Nightly.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Good evening, I'm Henry Goodwin, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. In Husker track and field news, freshman Jessica Reuter won the javelin event at the USA Track and Field U20 Championships in Eugene, Oregon earlier today. Reuter won on her second throw with a distance of 46.31 meters, or 151 feet 11 inches. Game 6 of the NBA Finals is on tonight, and the Thunder are looking to close out the series on the road in Indianapolis. Tip-off is soon at 7:30. Moving to the MLB, right now the Pirates are in Detroit playing the Tigers. In the top of the 7th, the Pirates lead 4-2. Earlier, the Cardinals were up 6-1. Now the White Sox tied it up 6-6 in the bottom of the 8th. The Phillies trail 0-1 in Miami against the Marlins. That game is through 6. The Mets currently lead the Braves 1-0 in Atlanta in the bottom of the 3rd. And then the Orioles and Rays are in Tampa Bay in the middle of the 2nd, and that game is still scoreless. Our sports ticker is sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Now, get ready for Hour 2 of Sports Nightly, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Tight formation, turn, toss it off to a little end around by Barney. He's at the 10-5, touchdown Nebraska. Jacory Barney slips in there, taking the pitch on the end around from 10 yards out. Nebraska stretches the lead to 20-3.
Pickens with a 1-2. Bland rolls the ground ball to third. Gibson charges, backhand stop, throw the first, the throw, wild, runner safe at first, Squire scores, now Lauren Cabot's in around third, she dives in safely, the throw wide of the plate, Bland around third, she's gonna score, everybody scores, a Little League 3-run home run for Sammy Bland, 3-1 Nebraska.
Between the circles now to Wooster and to Morgan. Back to the basket. Comes left. Dribble handoff to Esijan. Took a bump. Drives it. Puts it up. Got it! Holy smokes, what a great goal by Connor Esijan. He's not just a three-point shooter, my friends. 70-67.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Nick Hanley on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody with Nick Hanley. And once again, our final show of the week. Tomorrow night, we'll have a best of show here on the network. Nick, I did want to get to a text we didn't have a chance to get to last night on the program, but we were talking about the Husker defense and the potential of being a top 10 defense, and we dove into a lot of it. And a lot of talk on the defensive line, so we had someone text in about why is no one talking about the transfer from OU. So the linebacker hybrid, Desan McCullough, who absolutely will be a big piece. I think we were just more so talking maybe replacing the Nash and Ties on at the tackle position, and I think McCullough is going to play more on the edge and be more of maybe a get to the quarterback kind of guy. He's absolutely going to play a big part. He's going to be a part of the rotation. I think when you're talking about experience and replacing what Nebraska has to replace, who set the tone up front, it's Nash and Ty, and I think that's maybe what we were focusing more so on, right?
Yeah, definitely for me, because that's where I think when you have a secondary that is going to be as strong and as experienced, but also have so much young talent that's backstopping that experience, that I think there is going to be a lot of fun that I think John Butler is going to be able to have with the rotation with that. So I look at it as if you're able to couple that with a defensive line that at the very least has enough experience to where you get an idea of what they're going to look like, but you're replacing high productive guys like a Nash and Ty over that 2-year stretch, that if those guys don't necessarily have the same type of numbers, especially with how Ty ended the season last year, because he was just absolutely phenomenal. But if that group collectively is stingy, and they remember 2 years ago how good they were against the run, and if they're getting off the field on third down, if they're able to do that on top of that secondary, that's where I put my focus on this defensive line, because I think that's where you're going to see that one thing, though, that we want to see Nebraska continue to evolve in, and that is being able to take the football away. If you can bookend that defense with a strong interior, strong front, and then that secondary that I think we all feel could be really, really good, I think that could lead. If you're going to be able to entertain that conversation about trying to have a top 10 defense, and again, that wasn't your words or my words. That was thrown out there by a national guy. We are a little bit more reluctant to say that, but if you want to even entertain that thought, you got to have that type of production up front with those guys.
But I think, you know, to the texter's point, McCullough was a big pickup, and he is a guy who played more inside linebacker, moved around more at Oklahoma, and that's one of the reasons why. I mean, I talked to him in the spring. He wanted to play more of that edge type, outside linebacker, if you will. I think he's going to be a piece that John Butler is going to have a fun time scheming with, because he's extremely athletic, and he's one of those guys that he's your get off the bus first kind of guy, one of those guys, which Jamari Butler has been that guy in the past. I think Deshaun certainly could be that guy, and he is absolutely a big piece, but I think we were more so focusing on that more of the interior, I guess, how those guys develop and what we know that there's talent there. It's just more so we want to see what they do before we're ready to just completely sign off, I guess, on a top 10 defense.
Well, and I think and I'm glad he did bring that up. The texter brought that up about the linebacking position, because for a moment, let's take a look at this group. I mean, this is a very intriguing group, and it's kind of the running theme, I think, of this entire football program right now is there is a lot of excitement, and a lot of excitement for some of the underclassmen. Now, you love the story that Javen Wright brings, and Javen Wright, as long as he stays healthy, we know how just of a wrecker he can be. I mean, the guy is great laterally. He's great getting up the field, stopping the run. He can even help out in coverage. So a healthy Buddha, I think, is going to be huge. And obviously, there's your upperclassman right there. But then we start talking about the way we saw, especially in the Pinstripe Bowl, of what Vincent Shavers was doing. That was fantastic to see. So we're going to hopefully see more of that. Then you start looking at the edge, or even in the interior, but looking at guys like Willis McGay, who just as a sophomore is going to be able to have, I think, some very big contributions. Deshaun McCullough is obviously going to factor into that, but also a Marcus Watson-Trent. I mean, there's another guy that is a hybrid athlete at that linebacking position, to where he's a big sticker. He's a guy that can really get you on the edge. Again, he's not afraid to throw out a stick on guys. And so that's where I think there's a lot of versatility with this linebacking core on the edge and also inside. It's just the collective group together. What do they look like together, and what do they look like now having a little bit more game reps? And some of these guys taking on a lot more game reps than they have in their previous stops or in their previous season.
Now, McCullough is not in that inside linebackers room, because that was
right. He's going to be on the edge, yeah.
He's more on the edge, and so, but that was why he wanted to come here. He felt like that was more of his fit. That's where he wanted to be, and that's where this defense kind of saw him. But you bring up Watson-Trent. He's a very, very experienced guy, played a lot of football, and they loved what he did in the spring. So that's another. So when you talk about that young talent coupled with the older group, he is more so, even though he's new to Nebraska, he has been one of the leaders, and they really liked what they saw out of him. So you have some depth there. You have quite a few pieces there to figure out how that rotation is going to look, too, at inside linebacker. All right, so I did want to get to this, because I think this is going to be interesting, too. We were talking about Nash and replacing Nash just defensively. How about his leadership and that single-digit number, which Coach Rule brought here and is voted on, and is more of that leadership, so no team captains, but that single digit represents the leaders on the team. It's been a special thing that Coach Rule has done with his teams, and we got to figure out, there's a number of guys that left last year that wore those single digits. So Nash, Hopmaker, and then you have Isaac Gifford, Jamal Banks, you have John Bullock, Tommy Hill, Ty Robinson. Jamari Butler was initially voted on as a single digit. He wore 1, but then wanted to go back to his original number of 10. So Vincent Schaefer's wore 1, but I don't know if he automatically gets that. unless he's voted on it, I don't know if he just automatically gets that number one back. But so the returnees in those single digits, which you fully expect those guys to still have those single digits, Marquise Buford, Deshaun Singleton, and Malcolm Hartsock. So got a number of those single digits to fill. Who do you, I guess, immediately think of that might be filling some of those single digit spots?
Do we get a defensive lineman wearing 0 again? Because there was something about just a big-bodied, big torso type of guy like Nash Hutmacher wearing 0, which just in such a very odd, awkward way, it was perfect. I don't even know why.
I loved it.
It was great, and this is not like a joke about a bigger bodied person, okay? It's just seeing the 0 on such a large human being just looked great. Even seeing a single digit on Ty Robinson and seeing number 9 on another big bodied guy was very interesting. There's one guy I'm going to bring up right out of the gate because he has been the consummate of the team player. And I think his role is still going to be significant. And if it is significant, this is where I think the offense has another pretty awesome option on what they can do with just a pure athlete. Is Heinrich Haarberg in the running for a single digit? Because I would say he probably is.
Yeah, that was going to be probably my first thought, too, was Heinrich. And especially because he's been the guy that they've put out there in front as one of the leaders, as one of the spokespeople, and then being such a team guy, and he is well loved. I mean, he is very well loved by the guys in that locker room. So that's got to be one that I would think that he would move into. I also thought maybe about a Dylan or a Emmett Johnson, but I'm not sure those guys. Emmett's built such a brand now around his 21. He's also very much a team guy. Maybe he changes number, but I don't know if Dylan will not wear 12 either. So I think those are two leadership guys that maybe could wear 1, but I don't know if they would switch their number.
And isn't that interesting? Because we know there's been offensive linemen that have been, the ceremonial single digit, but obviously they can't or they don't wear that too. But, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a guy like Ja'Cory Barney. I mean, is his brand, I don't even know how much he's worried about or thinking about his brand, but is he a guy that looks at, hey, he was 17 a year ago. There's a guy that I could see, sliding into that. Maybe he's number 4 or, one of those single digit guys, because there's another guy that I think leads by example. And again, we know this isn't all just by how you perform on the field and the significance of what your role is going to be, but I think also how you carry yourself. And that's where a lot of what you do in the mat drills in the offseason, the community service and everything. It was basically the Jamal Banks factor. Jamal Banks' his first year here was not only raising eyebrows and turning heads with what he was able to do in the workouts, but how involved, and he just hit the ground running when it came to the Huskers out there in the community. But Ja'Cory Barney, from what I understand, checks all those boxes. And again, we always hear about his love for the football game and seems to really rub off on the rest of his teammates. So he's another guy there. But the Dylan, and I think you're right, though, about Emmett and Dylan, that those are guys. I know there's the Patrick Mahomes thing, even though Dylan says he was more of a Tim Tebow fan. That's why he started wearing 15. The Mahomes thing came later. 15's always been that number that he's wanted to wear and that he's wanted to always have. So I don't know if he would want to give that up. But if it's a situation, and this is the one thing Dylan has shown since he's been here, of being extremely selfless and thinking what's the most impactful for the team and really embracing not only old but even new tradition for Nebraska football, that I do wonder if he looks at this as a cool new tradition that he would maybe think, hey, you know what, 15, I'll be number 5. How about that? I can be number 5 this year. Replace John Bullock's number. So I wouldn't be shocked if he was voted as a single digit, if he would say, you know what, yeah, I'll do that. Because it would just be another example of Dylan saying it just when we think we kind of know what he's not. I don't want to say know what he's about, making it sound like he's about himself. But when you think that brand would be really important and that brand has number 15 attached to it, that he'd say, you know what, no, this is cool. I was voted on by my team, and to be a single digit, I'm going to represent that. I could see him doing that. Again, I wouldn't blame them he or Emmett Johnson, if they were voted single-digit guys and they said, you know what, I want to keep my number, that's fine. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they were like, yeah, you know what, I think I will take that. Because I think those are two no-doubters that would be candidates for single digits.
So I think Dane Key will, you mentioned Jamal Banks. I think Dane Key could be a guy that very well could be voted on as a single digit. We just talked about the linebackers. Javen Wright, he is also a guy that is very loved and appreciated for everything he's been through, and now he's one of the leaders. He's been around, so I wouldn't be surprised, Javen Wright. When you talk about the defensive line, how about RVP wearing number 0? Riley Van Poppel, if he could work into that, maybe he's a replacement for number 0.
Well, and you know what? I love that one, and I'll tell you why. Because there's another guy that, again, didn't have to accept the plan that was laid out. And remember when Matt Rule talked about when they do introduce that plan of, hey, we want you to sit out and we want you to be a red shirt, he wanted the players' input on that. And if they felt like that wasn't the best thing for them, then they could say, you know what, I'd rather just use this year of eligibility and play whenever you might have to use me, and that's fine with me. I thought what he did last year was very selfless. I think obviously you can see the upside to being able to step aside and, you're still going to suit up, you're still going to play a couple of games, but you're not going to exceed the 4 games and be able to use it as a developmental opportunity. That I think there's some sacrifice with that, especially for a guy who played and really in some key games in his true freshman year. You think, hey, I want to keep going. I don't want to sit out. And so I think that sacrifice right there, and then from everything we've seen, looking at the guy now physically, I think both on the field and what he showed as a true teammate a year ago, showing that he wants to put maybe what he thought his plan was going to be as a true freshman going right into his sophomore year as playing even more, put that to the side, better himself, because ultimately that's going to better the team as well. I think there's some leadership qualities with what Riley Van Poppel went through last year, so I think that would be a great candidate.
2 more I got for you. Elijah Judy, so another guy that's been around. He's played, I think he's expected to step into more of a role. He's the older guy. He seems like he was a great leader kind of in that room when you lose such leaders in Ty and Nash. And so I think Elijah Judy could be a guy that very likely could be voted on that. And Sierra Wright. I heard a lot from the young defensive backs about how good Sierra Wright was and showing them the ropes and working with them. And so I think that's another maybe guy that immediately pops out in my mind. Might very well be a couple that we're not even thinking of. Maybe the transfers could hop into that, as we talked about. Watson Trent, McCullough very well could be one of those guys. We've seen it in the past, like in a Jamal Banks that got that number last year. So, but those would be probably my front runners, not knowing internally exactly what's going on right now and who are the leaders in the locker room right now. I feel like that's a pretty solid list, right, of options.
I think it is. I think you're probably on to something about Dane Key when you said him earlier. Between Elijah Judy and Sierra Wright, I think both of them are going to be strong candidates. But the Sierra Wright thing, too, for how late he arrived last year and how quickly he was, I think, one of the most liked players on this team, especially by the end of the year. And then now taking that, as you mentioned, taking that role even further to being like one of the veterans. Because, I mean, he is a college football veteran, and now he's a veteran with this Nebraska football team because he was one of their best producing defensive backs by the end of the year. And so I think that him being able to utilize his experience and bestow that on the younger players, too, there's that leadership. But we also know that Sierra Wright is going to be one of the more important members of that secondary, and he's looking to take a bigger step this year as well for the guy who is both, the actor and the player, and you didn't know which direction he's going to go. He showed that he's a pretty damn good football player, too. So I think there's a lot of those boxes checked by Sierra Wright that I would expect him. He could be. I expect Sierra Wright to be a single-digit guy.
Isn't it funny? We're sitting here, and we mentioned some offensive players, but for the 2 years that this has been instilled, it's been heavily dominated by the defensive players. There's been way more defensive guys that have gotten those numbers than offensive players. I think maybe a lot of that is that offensive linemen can't wear the single digits, one. But then also, it's just they're a lot younger. There's a lot more experience on the defensive side of the ball than on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe that has something to do with it, too. Maybe this year will change a little bit, but I think just going back to if those offensive players want to change their number, I don't know.
Well, and I think there could be two guys on the offensive line that would get those honorary single digits that they'll obviously turn down. I think two that come to mind. One of them is a transfer, and I think it's Rocco Spindler because, again, I think there's a leadership role that he's taken. I think he's a guy that came in with already instant credibility given his experience at Notre Dame. But the way that he's taking on, I think that role right out of the gate, I think is pretty remarkable. And then I think Justin Evans is another guy that could possibly warrant that as well. Another guy that's making a position change, but a guy that has always been largely positive with some of the growing pains that's taken place as an offensive lineman, but is really kind of thrown into it pretty early in his career. So I think there's a lot of battles that he's been a part of that I think this group collectively really appreciates. So those are two offensive linemen that I would say would at least be candidates.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to a break here on Sports Nightly. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Coming up on the other side of this, we're going to return to our newcomer series and hear from another one of the new faces that'll be joining Nebraska women's basketball, Eliza Mopin. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Who are you?
I'm the truck fairy.
You mean the tooth fairy?
No, truck fairy. I appear when someone dreams about winning one of the 8 new trucks in the Nebraska Lottery's Trucks and Bucks scratch game.
Oh, so you leave Trucks and Bucks tickets under my pillow?
No.
Cash?
Sorry.
What exactly do you do?
Remind people to play today.
Don't think I need a truck fairy for that.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Play Trucks and Bucks from your Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds are 1 in 336,000.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the 9th inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody, and we're going to continue our newcomer series tonight and go back to women's basketball. And one of the transfer portal additions, a player that played 3 seasons at Kansas State, was a part of teams that went on runs in the NCAA tournament, so experience there, but also some length and athleticism. 6'3" forward Eliza Mopin joining the Huskers for her senior season. I had a chance to chat with her and get to know the new Husker. Well, I want to get to know you. You have a fascinating story, a lot of cool kind of layers to your story, but let's just start with when you decided to enter the transfer portal, what that was like. Because you went through it recruiting as a high school senior and throughout your high school career. What was it like the second time around?
Yeah, very, very different, 2 different experiences. First time that I got recruited. I didn't play AAU, so I didn't get a whole lot of exposure, so it was just a couple coaches calling me here and there. But the second time around, it was way more elevated, a lot more coaches calling me. So in that aspect, I would say it was a lot more hectic. But, I mean, I enjoyed it. So.
Okay, so when you were looking for your last place to finish out your college career, what were you looking for?
I wanted to have fun. I just wanted to go out with a bang. So the priorities that I was looking for mainly was, 1, to have fun, to play the position that I wanted to be in an environment where I would thrive. And those were my top 3 things that I was really looking forward for in every school that I was talking to.
So you come to Nebraska. What did you fall in love with when you came here on your visit?
The people were just amazing. Every single person that I came across was, just welcoming, talking to me, saying hi, just great energy that I loved, and I wanted to be a part of that, and I thought Lincoln was definitely the spot that I needed to be at.
So when you start having those conversations about how you fit into what they do on the court and the game plan-wise, what was that conversation like? How did they expect for you to fit into what they want to do with this team?
Yeah. So I came from a spot where I didn't really get to play a lot of the position that I wanted to. So that's what I was looking for, and Nebraska had that where I wanted to be at. They play a lot of, their 4s and 5s are exchangeable, and that's where I wanted to be. I like to run the floor, and Coach Williams loved that aspect about me, and it fit really well in their offense. And then my good traits that I like about myself is that I'm athletic, so I can get myself on the defensive side as well and kind of get steals and hedge screens, or if you will. But yeah.
That's exciting, and that is, they like to push the floor.
Yes.
You've been on the court a little bit already to start the season. Do you get a feel for just these guards and how much fun it is to play with them when they want to push it up to you?
Yeah, it is so fun. I love fast-paced basketball, so this is definitely where I want to be. It's also playing with these guards.
What has been the emphasis here as you guys, there's several people that are returning and then several newcomers, as you guys are trying to mesh here in the early goings? What does that look like, and how is that progressing here in the early goings?
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty well, honestly, with having a lot of new faces in the gym. But obviously it takes some work, it takes a lot of learning, some learning curves that we all have to overcome. But within the first week of being in the gym, I think it's gone pretty well. So.
You told me you had never been to Lincoln before your official visit. And so you moved here a couple weeks before you got going. So you've been here, what, almost a month now?
Yeah, it's been a month about.
How do you like it? How are you settling in?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I'm settling in pretty well. It has rained a lot since I've been here, which I was not expecting, but I love Lincoln. I love downtown. I love the people, so it's great.
So you actually had some familiarity with one of the names on this roster, Natalie Potts. Y'all battled each other in high school?
Yes, that was great. A great, fun experience. They were always our little rivals that we wanted to get back at, but that was really fun. Great experience.
How nice is it to have somebody that you knew a little bit, were familiar with coming into this?
It makes things a lot more comfortable, if you will. Just having a face that I knew beforehand makes things a little bit easier, kind of just getting to know everyone. So,
how excited are you to join forces with Natalie then?
I know I am so excited for this. Everyone in St. Louis is probably already thinking the same thing, but it's going to be a great year for sure.
Okay, so you have quite the family, big family.
Big family.
12 siblings in total.
Yes.
How was that? What was that like growing up?
It was really, really, really fun. You never get bored. There's always someone you can hang out with, play a game with. You got 11 best friends. So it was amazing growing up. Obviously, we had our times, had our moments, but it was really fun. I enjoyed the experience.
And it was with your siblings that you started playing basketball, right?
Yes.
You were battling it out with your siblings?
Yes. So I started playing basketball probably around middle school, but it was like before that when I started playing in the backyard with my siblings. We were always playing tips or some type of game, competitive game, which I think brought my competitive nature out a little bit more, playing with my siblings.
And 6 of them are adopted, right?
Yes, 6 are adopted, 6 biological.
Can you tell us about that and why that was something that your family wanted to do?
Yeah, my parents are very religious, and they believe that they were called to adopt children. So they adopted their first child when she was 10 weeks old, and then kind of just progressed from there. Me and my brother were adopted next. I was 6, he was 4, and then they adopted 3 more. So what has that meant to you as you grow up, that they gave you kind of that opportunity, and that you were able to thrive after that? Yeah, I am honestly so grateful. I don't know where I would be, obviously, if I didn't get the opportunity that I did. But I'm very grateful and thankful that I'm where I'm at.
So you were not just a basketball player. You were a 2-time track high jumper.
Yes,
You were quite the athlete. Can you dunk a basketball?
I'm pretty close. I would say so myself, but definitely in a game with adrenaline, I think I definitely can throw it down.
And it was your first season ever competing track and field. You went out there and won a state title, right?
Yeah, I just kind of did my thing. I was not expecting that, but I did end up with a gold medal. So,
was there a time where you realized, because I know that's something that when you describe yourself and when other people describe you, just athleticism, you're an extreme athlete. Was there a time where you realized, hey, I'm gifted in this area?
I think I'm still learning that about myself to this point today. But I think just seeing myself excel in different areas, it just kind of brought that upon myself, and I kind of just took that and ran with it, playing volleyball as well. So.
Wow. I when reading up on everything that you've kind of been through and gone through, and then with Amy Williams, and I know you feel like you are a good fit, and you've played a lot of college basketball already. Yeah. But when you go into this year, what are some of the things that you're really focusing on that you want to improve on your game going into the season?
Yeah. Specifically, I want to get better at my ball handling, shooting, kind of just seeing the floor, and overall, I just want to get better. I just want to get better. For myself, for my team, my coaches. So,
you were a part of teams that had some success in the postseason, and that was another thing that was talked about, that you have this winning mindset.
Yeah.
What were some of those things, the valuable lessons that you learned being a part of a team that made a deep run that you want to bring here to Nebraska?
Yeah. I think our team went through a lot of adversity, so that was something that we had to overcome. And through that adversity, you learn to kind of win in different areas that other teams might not be able to do. And so that's kind of the mindset that I have. Like, it might take different things to get you where you want to be.
So now that you've been through this and you know kind of what it takes to get a team that is capable of going on a run, what needs to happen through these next couple of months here in the summer for you guys to do what needs to be done to set up for preseason and then into the season?
Yeah, I think we just need to grind. We need to focus on what we need to do. Just look at the bigger picture, because we all have the same goal, same mindset, and to know that, to just kind of put the pieces together at the same time, that will get us where we want to be.
What's your major? What education-wise, what's your focus?
Yeah, I am a business administration major, and that's kind of what I want to do. I'm not sure what that looks like after college basketball, but that is my major right now, my focus.
What else do Husker fans need to know about you off the court? What are you like?
I'm pretty chill. I like to do anything, honestly. I like to hang out with friends. I like to go swimming. I like to do all the things. So.
Again, appreciate Eliza Mopin spending some time with us here on Sports Nightly, and a part of our newcomer series, which is presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Whether you just arrived in Nebraska or you've called it home for years, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is here for you. We've been part of this community for 85 years, helping Corn Huskers, new and native, stay healthy and thrive on and off the field. And if you missed any of the newcomer conversations, we're just kind of getting started this week, but we've got lots lined up here over the next couple of weeks. And so we'll be posting all of those on our podcast platforms and our YouTube channel as well. But Nick, I've done a few that we will be airing and posting soon. And I don't know, I've been saying there's a lot of them. We know that there's a lot of them with men's basketball. Women's basketball got several out of the transfer portal as well. But I guess I didn't realize there were 8 volleyball newcomers until I sat down and really started planning out when I was going to interview these players.
And it's obviously the norm of college athletics remains the same of the incoming freshmen, but now you're talking about the transfer portal, where every sport you're going to have at least multiple transfer portal additions. And I think for what you just heard there from Maupin too, I'm always curious on the path that got him there. Why Nebraska? I know why Amy Williams was really excited about Maupin, but I always think that's the fascinating story. So I'm glad you're doing this, especially for a lot of the ones that already have college athletic experience, especially the transfer portals additions that are making their way over to Nebraska, because you and I spend so much time talking about where we think this athletic department is, and especially in new times with revenue share on how it will be. And we think that there are a lot of reasons why a student athlete in any sport would choose Nebraska, but hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, hearing it from those players and hearing what they have to say on whether it's the development that they want to get out of a certain coaching staff, or it's the ability to play in the Big Ten, or to play just at this level of athletics at the major level as opposed to maybe a mid-major. I think all of those things are really interesting, and I think everyone has a different motivating force on why they found themselves in Lincoln, so I always think these conversations are really interesting.
So we'll continue those. Again, as mentioned, I got several of the volleyball players lined up that we'll be bringing to you. But the next week, we will sit down with the men's basketball newcomers. So we'll start hearing from those guys as well. And throughout the summer, it's just going to take us the rest of the summer to get through all of these players. But it's always fun to get to know the new faces and, like you said, their journeys and how they got here to Lincoln. Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. Got to step aside for a break. More of the show coming up after this.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to goodrx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm broadcasting Major Connor Clark with Campus News. For the 7th straight year, the University of Nebraska system is a top 100 patent-earning institution in the world. NU researchers were granted 46 patents in 2023, ranking the university at number 55 nationally, ahead of Big Ten schools like Michigan State and Penn State.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Experience a redefined car buying experience with Woodhouse Mazda. Visit the Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers and explore our exceptional lineup. Lease the 2025 Mazda CX-50 SE for just $339 per month. Visit us in store or online at woodhousemazda.com or woodhouseplacemazda.com today. 36 months, 10,000 miles per year with approved credit. Tax, title, license extra. $2,999 plus first payment and $299 doc fee due at signing. Stock number X250615. Offer expires June 30th, 2025. See dealer for details.
Who are you?
I'm the truck fairy.
You mean the tooth fairy?
No, truck fairy. I appear when someone dreams about winning one of the 8 new trucks in the Nebraska Lottery's Trucks and Bucks scratch game.
Oh, so you leave trucks and bucks tickets under my pillow?
No.
Cash?
Sorry.
What exactly do you do?
Remind people to play today.
Don't think I need a truck ferry for that.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Play Trucks and Bucks from your Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds are 1 in 336,000.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. I got to hurry up and get out of here so I can go watch the Thunder. The game is underway, so we have Game 6 of the NBA Finals, and hoping my Thunder that next week on Monday we're talking about a Thunder championship. Nick,
are you nervous?
No, because I feel pretty good, as mentioned. I know you said don't jinx it, don't mention it, that it's happened to you, but I feel pretty good if it went back to Oklahoma City. I feel like they can go one of two here to close out the series.
Yeah, just don't put it in a position where all of a sudden things are feeling like they're even and you just lost all of the momentum that you gained by taking a series lead. I want, because you experienced this in the clincher in the finals, in the conference finals. I love that they're doing this on broadcasts of showing the starting lineups and showing, you get to hear the PA announcers at all the different venues, and you get to see how they're applauded. And there's just something about Oklahoma City and that building and just the environment. I know everybody, especially in the playoffs, all fan bases in all arenas put their best foot forward, and they all sound like they're very electric venues. Gosh, Oklahoma City just seems different. And you experienced it at its highest moment up until a potential, well, I'm sure that last game too was a big moment as well. But to win the conference and to clinch a spot in the NBA Finals, I feel like Oklahoma City is probably right up there in the top 5.
Oh, yeah. And, other players say that. And even back when I was covering the team before, when I was working in Oklahoma City, and you would talk to teams and you go interview the opposing teams and get sound bites to run or whatever, and they would talk about how it would take them back to college when they would go to Oklahoma City, because it was more of like a college atmosphere with how loud and how engaged the environment stays. I mean, it is loud from the time they open up the doors until, even after the game, it was still electric. So, and the game that I went to, it was Oklahoma City dominated. It was they jumped out to a lead. It was a blowout, and it was so loud in there. So it is, and it's appreciated by, I think, even though it's against you, even opposing players, when not everywhere is like that in the league. When you go to an atmosphere like that, I think even opposing players appreciate it. But as we've heard, lots of the coaches here talk about how the crowds help will them to wins. There's no doubt the Oklahoma City, that their fans help them win games there in that building.
Yeah, because there was something about during the LeBron and Miami days, and with Bosh and D-Wade, that Miami crowd, it seemed to be very superficial. It seemed to be
they wouldn't wear their shirts. They weren't wearing their shirts.
Right, yeah, because, hey, we spent a lot of money on the outfit that we chose to put on here to come to this game. I mean, this is the place to be seen. It just seemed very manufactured, and there were times that it was very loud there, but I didn't think it was authentic. I really didn't. I think there are arenas that can get butts in every seat when it comes to the playoffs, but it's what you do with those bodies and seats. How loud are they? How involved are they? And I feel like it's a very authentic Oklahoma City Thunder crowd.
I would agree. I'm not biased by any means.
Right. I know. I should probably just say I know it is, and I haven't even been there, because you're obviously going to say that. Yeah.
So, but if it does go to Game 7, it would be on Sunday. So either way, hopefully we are talking about a Thunder title on Monday when we're back here on Sports Nightly.
If they clinch it on a Sunday, is this going to impact your status to do a show on Monday?
Yeah, it's going to be a holiday for me. I don't know. We'll see. TBD.
You're going to come in with sunglasses on and everything?
TBD. All right, we got to get to a break. We're back to wrap up the show next.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
O'Reilly. Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to protect against wear and deposits. Get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select filter for just $33.99 in-store only. Limit supply. Learn more at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Your next vehicle is waiting for you at Woodhouse. With over 20 locations and a variety of brands, Woodhouse offers everything from reliable trucks to family-friendly SUVs. Whether you're looking for a Nissan, Mazda, or Infiniti, our team is here to help you find the perfect fit. Enjoy a seamless car buying experience with our expert staff and exceptional service. Visit Woodhouse today, where quality, selection, and customer satisfaction come first. Or get started online at woodhouse.com.
Who are you?
I'm the truck fairy.
You mean the tooth fairy?
No, truck fairy. I appear when someone dreams about winning one of the 8 new trucks in the Nebraska Lottery's Trucks and Bucks scratch game.
Oh, so you leave Trucks and Bucks tickets under my pillow?
No.
Cash?
Sorry.
What exactly do you do?
Remind people to play today.
Don't think I need a truck fairy for that.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Play Trucks and Bucks from your Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds are 1 in 336,000.
Welcome back. Final segment here of Sports Nightly with Nick Hanley. I'm Jessica Coody, and our final show of the week here. And I mentioned this a couple different times, Nick, but we're winding down. Next week will be our final week in the studio. We're getting some new digs coming up here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so the only time I saw where it was going to be, it was pretty much tarped off and everything, so I have no idea what it looks like.
It's going to be sweet. I'm excited about it, and I don't even know how much I'm allowed to say, but there's it's going to be a whole new area of all the content teams. So Husker Vision and the digital crew who puts out all the social media stuff will all be in one area. I got a little podcast studio, so maybe some different looking sets on the podcast. So I'm excited. It's going to be sweet, state of the art, and we're still in the stadium, so we're still right here. Yeah. So, but it's a little bittersweet, though, because we are right here where the team walks in to the new facility on game days, and it's always buzzing here. We have to Coatney needs some security guards when he's doing Big Red Reaction because people are banging on the windows and stuff. But it's going to be a good move for us. We're going to have a sweet new studio and expecting a pretty big announcement coming up here next week. So I know people have been asking, and I know there's some reports out there, but expecting a big announcement for us here on the Huskers Radio Network next week, which we're excited about.
Yeah, and again, I think it comes with excitement of ushering the new era when it does come to this part of the Nebraska Athletics brand, but I think it also, for you, myself, for Ben, for Damon, for Coatney, for everyone, for Josh, I'm missing names right now, but for everyone that was not only a colleague of Greg Sharp, but a close friend of Greg Sharp. It definitely comes with a heavy heart that you do usher in a new chapter in Husker Radio, especially when it comes to replacing a guy that, in my opinion, is just unreplaceable. But I know that person will be liked, and that person will be very talented and more than capable of doing a great job.
So those daily questions that we get texted with on the chat asking about when we're finally about to be able to answer that. So big show coming up on Monday for you, and Yeah, again, as I am hopefully celebrating a Thunder title and some big things coming here on the Huskers Radio Network. So that's going to do it for us. Thanks for listening and watching. Have a great weekend, Husker Nation.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Who are you?
I'm the truck fairy.
You mean the tooth fairy?
No, truck fairy. I appear when someone dreams about winning one of the 8 new trucks in the Nebraska Lottery's Trucks and Bucks scratch game.
Oh, so you leave trucks and bucks tickets under my pillow?
No.
Cash?
Sorry.
What exactly do you do?
Remind people to play today.
Don't think I need a truck fairy for that.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Play Trucks and Bucks from your Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds are 1 in 336,000.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule. With your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or get us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field,